This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, I'm Rekha Sharma, and I played Landry on Star Trek Discovery. You are listening to The Edge on Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome to The Edge, Trek FM's dedicated podcast to Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Patrick Devlin. And unfortunately, Amy Nelson cannot be joined with us this week because when we got to her shuttlecraft, it was just adrift. So I went out and found a friend, and I brought in our special guest, Brandon-Shea Mutala. How are you?
I'm doing great. Oh, look over there, it's Spock. Just kidding.
Oh, you got me all hopeful.
Yeah, it's Spock again. Oh, no, just kidding.
Well, we're really looking for Amy, though.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, look, it's Amy. Just kidding.
No, she's away this weekend and having a great time. So you came on to to help me out this week.
Did you see that?
I appreciate that.
Did you see that tweet she did of that Jean-Luc Picard in pillow? She found like a pillow with Patrick Stewart's face on it, but he looks like the character from Dune. I don't know, like he looks younger. He looks like his character from Dune, and it's just like a throw pillow with Patrick Stewart's face on it. It's like really weird.
Now I'll have to go check out her Twitter because I haven't been on Twitter this weekend, so
yes,
I haven't checked that out. But that's not what we're here to discuss.
No, but before we get into this week's episode, I want to say something because I wanted to talk to you guys about last week's episode, and I wasn't able to join you, but I just wanted to say something here. I said a long time ago on this very podcast when I was a host, I'm like, look, when they get to season 2, I want them to just say Saru has just grown so much as a character that his ganglia have just literally petrified and are no longer useful because he's grown so much as a character that he's no longer afraid of anything anymore. And that is basically what they did last week. And you have no idea how happy I am that even the writers are fed up with this complete and nonsense physical trait of this character that they just like, we just got to get rid of these things because they're just ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, it didn't happen exactly that way. It's like, I likened it to like puberty for them. Like they feel maturity, but yes, I agree with you completely. I was very happy to see that just withered away and died.
Yes. And I am thrilled because I said it like a year ago and I'm like, yes. And I had like a gigantic argument with Bill Smith from the Trek East podcast in an Italian restaurant when we were at Albany last fall.
Oh, we talked about this.
I know. We were like arguing about the validity of his ganglia, and I was like, they are just nonsense. And we were like yelling at each other in this restaurant, and it was crazy.
We talked about this like just as I was coming on or something like that, because I remember saying to you, and nobody else in this poor Italian restaurant cared.
No, it was almost closing time, but yeah, we got some funny looks. But I feel vindicated because yes, these ganglia were nonsense, and I'm glad they're gone. And I can't wait to see what happens.
So now, so since we brought that up, and we haven't really gotten into what we're here to talk about, but I'm glad now that he actually had them, because it's going to be the reason we go back.
Yeah, which I don't know. That'll be okay. I realize we're kind of talking about last week's episode, but it's like this is clearly going to be a Prime Directive violation issue, right? And we're going to clearly have like angry Saru trying to save his planet now, and he shouldn't be.
Oh, I don't agree.
He should not be saving his planet.
I don't agree.
What? Because
I don't.
This is like
it's not a Prime Directive issue.
Absolutely, it is.
No, because they've already been messed with from a warped society. So all hands are off.
You know what? We don't know that they have been. We haven't seen anything.
Oh, I've seen the coming attractions. They have been.
Okay, well, I haven't seen next week's episode. So if you're talking about next week's episode, we don't get that on Crave TV. So I don't know what's coming next.
Well, I don't have it yet either, but I saw the coming attractions.
Anyways.
They definitely messed with them. So in my opinion, once another civilization messes with them and makes them believe something that doesn't really exist, it's okay to then go in and fix that problem.
But so then what you're saying is with New Eden from episode 2, then it's not a fine directive violation either. And I think we agreed on that.
No, I did say that, yeah.
I think we agreed on that, so.
But I also don't like the Prime Directive, so.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyways, we're not here to talk about whatever the last week's episode was called. Or Saru, because he was barely in this episode.
He was barely in this episode. There's a whole lot going on, but it's not around him. But this time,
on the edge of death, and he's now on the bridge, and everything's a-okay.
Yep,
just like Worf and his spine.
So we are here to talk about Saints of Imperfection, right?
We sure are here to talk about this episode. Yes, we are sure here to talk about this episode.
Okay, you didn't know what the name was, did you?
No, I you know what? Somebody said it. I think it was on a Trek Ranks podcast that they really wish the episode titles would be on the shows again, and I do too, because honestly, like that's kind of how I associate the episodes is by seeing their titles on screen, and they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, true.
And I wish they did.
True. I pause them to get them, but like when I pause CBS All Access, it tells me them.
Yeah.
But okay. So anyway, what were your initial thoughts of this episode?
Okay, so this episode is an infuriating A+ episode.
I like that way of explaining it because
Yes.
I agree with you 100%. I love and can't stand this episode.
Yeah, there's some things in this episode that really upset me, right? But I mean, like, this episode is amazing, you know, and it's like one of those things where I'm like trying to come to terms with it. There is a lot of really, really, really good stuff in this episode, and it's great. It is great. It might be the best episode of the season, and it pisses me off so much.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't make it the best of the season for me, but it's way up there. You're right. There's a lot of things that as we talk through this, I'm going to just make up headcanon to be okay with it because I have to be, because the episode's that good.
Yeah.
But man, I spent weeks staying here. I don't want to see him walking around the ship being a doctor again. And boy, was I wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so let's address this head on. Okay, because this is the thing that upsets me the most. Okay, so I was talking on a Twitter feed and I was talking back and forth with the Seventh Rule podcast, which is the new podcast with Sirach Lofton and Aaron Eisenberg, and they were asking questions about this. And I took a screenshot of the tweet because I wanted to address this. Okay, so everybody's saying about how, you know, they had been planning this and whatnot. They've been planning for Culber to come back. And I don't believe that. You can tell me whatever you want that they've been planning this and they've been talking about this the whole time. I do not believe that this was the initial intent of the show. So this is what I wrote in a tweet, and then I'll tell you somebody's response and I'll tell you mine. I said, they made a decision to kill off a beloved character and they should stick with their decisions. Killing characters off and then having them return reduces the impact of their death and its importance. And somebody did that thing that they do on Twitter and they tried to throw my words back in my face and they said, sure, totally, and posted a picture of Spock holding his hand up in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And I said, thank you. Thank you for proving my point. Nicholas Meyer was so furious with them bringing Spock back to life that he wanted nothing to do with Star Trek III. Okay, so I'm not the only person that doesn't want to see a character come back. You know what? I love Game of Thrones. You know what I don't want to see? Ned Stark put his head back on and come back, okay? I don't want to see that, okay? I love that character. I love Ned Stark. I don't want to see him come back. And don't confuse yourself with good writing. These are good writers, and this is a good story using plots that were placed in season 1 to write a story to have this guy come back. But honestly, I don't believe that they intended this. Now, I'm going to put this here, Patrick, and I'm sorry for my rant, but you can even call this rant and then put it as a chapter stop and, you know, put rant over as the next chapter stop, because I'm going to give a spoiler for Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. So Halloween H2O was intended to be the last Halloween movie in the Halloween franchise, to the point where not Jodie Foster, I can't remember her name right now off the top of my head. I can't remember.
He's that mad, people. He's that
No,
mad.
it's not that I'm not mad. I'm just bad with names. Anybody who listens to my other podcast knows I'm really bad with characters' names. Jamie Lee Curtis. There we go. Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, cuts off Michael Myers' head with an axe at the end of the movie. They're like, we are done. But it's so successful, they have Halloween 8. How are they going to bring it back? Okay, so good writing and retroactive continuity, hence the term retcon, is what writers do. And so in Halloween Resurrection, they determined that Michael Myers actually got away, put his mask over top of a medic, and it was actually somebody driving the ambulance whose head she cut off. Okay, so retroactively, they completely rewrote that it wasn't Michael Myers that got his head cut off. And I think that that's what they decided to do in this, okay? They got to a certain point in the production when things all shook up, and they're like, look, we did writing and retroactive continuity, hence the term retcon, is what writers do. And so in Halloween Resurrection, they determined that Michael Myers actually got away, put his mask over top of a medic, and it was actually somebody driving the ambulance whose head she cut off. Okay, so retroactively, they completely rewrote that it wasn't Michael Myers that got his head cut off. And I think that that's what they decided to do in this, okay? They got to a certain point in the production when things all shook up, and they're like, look, we decided we don't want to kill this character because he's a good character. It's not that I don't want him back because I don't like the character. I do like Culber. I think he's a great character. I was disappointed to see them kill him off. I was upset when they kill him off. But when they make a decision in television in this day and age, right, they need to stick to that decision. When they killed off Tasha Yar, they didn't intend to bring her back, but creative writing allowed us for things like Yesterday's Enterprise, and then through there, we got other creative writing. But that doesn't mean that it was a plan the whole time. And people can tell me that they said that on stage the whole time, that they plan on bringing him back. But I just don't believe that they did. Rant over. You can put another chapter stop here now.
Okay, so let me respond to some of what you just said.
Okay.
I'm in complete agreement with you that they ruined Death. Death has no impact now because you're just waiting till they fix it. They've already shown you twice now, right, that I can think of. They've shown you twice that where we believe a character is dead and they're not. Okay, they come back.
And I want to point out that television writing in 2017, 2018, and 2019 is different than television writing in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And fine, yes, they killed characters constantly on Star Trek and brought them back in the same episode. This is not the same thing, and television writing is different now. And when you write television and you have an impact of a character's death, that's important nowadays. You're not arbitrarily making a decision like that.
Okay, so... Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. So I know I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you that I've said it. Anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I've said I don't want him back alive. I don't. I love the character, and if they want to keep giving him to me week after week from the network, from the Mycelial network, I'm okay with that. I was fine with that because it's a plausible reason to have him on screen. But bringing him back to life was going to bother me. So now I have to come to grips with the fact that it happened. Okay. It was good writing, although I can poke holes in that too. We'll do that later. But my problem here is, I agree with everything else you said, except I do think they intended to bring him back from the beginning. I didn't think that they intended for him to be dead forever. Now, I can still not like the fact that they thought that from the beginning, because I just don't think they have much regard for death mattering, which is mind-boggling considering the first season was a war.
Mm-hmm.
They killed Cornwell, but not. They killed Culber, but not.
They killed Georgiou, but not.
Well, they gave you a plausible reason for the person to be on the screen, but that is a different character. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually perfectly okay with that one. If you know what I mean. Like,
yep,
see,
I do. I know what you mean, but it's just that I was thinking about that today too. It's like, look, they killed, they came in and the behind the scenes crew got shaken up at a certain point in the production. I don't know exactly when that was. Okay. But definitely the pilot episode and stuff were done and Georgiou was dead. And they're like, we want to keep her.
Well, I actually heard the show was written the other way around, that they did the last few episodes first.
I don't think so.
I remember reading that somewhere, and that's why it got so convoluted somewhere in the middle, because that's where the changeover happened. Like, they weren't, I don't know, whatever. Point being is, Georgiou doesn't bother me so much because they gave me a plausible reason why she's actually a different character. Sure. I know she has the same name, but she's from another universe. It wouldn't make sense for her to look different. So, okay, great. They also want to tie her in to another series, to make a spinoff. Fine. I'm okay with that. Cornwell, when it first happened, we thought she wasn't dead, and then she wasn't, so okay. Some people kind of saw that coming. All right, I'm fine with that. But now you have a third instance of a non-dead character.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so why is Lorca really dead? Why?
Yeah, see, that's just it. He's not. He's not dead. Like, we're going to see him again, whether it's Prime Lorca, or honestly, if you want to just throw the Mycelium Network in here, Mirror Lorca could come back anytime, because he just got absorbed by the Mycelium Network when he fell into that ball.
Right, so that's my issue. So, and if they never bring him back, that's okay too, but I don't, from now until the show ends, I don't believe anyone's truly dead anymore.
Right. And see,
I always believe someone can come back.
Right. And so here's another spoiler for Walking Dead season 9. So I'm sorry, people, for a recent spoiler for Walking Dead. So skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. They made a decision that they were going to get Rick Grimes off the show this year. And so they killed him. However, in the same episode, they showed him being rescued by a helicopter and being taken away for us to not see him for again. And they have a plan with that. They wanted to get him off the main show because the actor wanted to be off the show, but they've set it up so they can bring him back into some TV movies and stuff like this at another point. Okay. And that, again, that is different as well.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, like you said, the biggest thing is it devalues death on this show.
Yeah, I do.
And in this type of storytelling, that is a major part of the storytelling.
They told us when they were writing the show in season 1, they're like, and people will be dying, except that they won't be. I don't know. Like, the only person who's been dead so far is that guy that was, that Burnham killed in the elevator in the Mirror Universe, and he got blown out the wall in the pilot episode. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, well, Lorca's still dead.
So, well, for now.
Yeah.
Until Thursday, I don't know.
I don't think he's coming back Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see.
I get your point. All right, so we put all the ranting up in the front so no one's listening anymore. But if you're still listening, we got one more rant here. Okay, are you not tired of them like fishing at us with Spock here? Like, just get to the Spock plot. Like, oh, this doesn't bother me.
Oh man, Spock, just kidding. Spock, just kidding. Spock, just kidding.
You watch Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. It doesn't bother me.
What about Game of Thrones doesn't bother you?
They do the same thing. They constantly tip you to the next step, but it's 6 episodes away. And Lost did the same thing, so.
Yeah, but Lost was lost, literally, right? It was a great show, but they didn't really have a plan. But Game of Thrones has a plan. I don't know.
Lost had no plan.
Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons had a plan.
So, not finding Spock yet, I'm okay with it. I'm a little annoyed that we keep seeing advertisements of him and we're not getting to him, but, I'm okay with the fact that we haven't gotten to him yet. I'm all right with that. I can see the frustration in it, but whatever. Like, I knew this episode wasn't going to find him anyway. This episode was going to be about Tilly and the network for the most part, and it was.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, what did you think of that whole thing?
Okay, so you and I have both said, like, we don't like the comedic aspects of Tilly. And, like, this episode really shows how great an actress Mary Wise is. She did an amazing job in this episode. There was a couple of those Tilly lines in the episode that I didn't like. But, she did such a really great job in this episode. And, like, this was a powerhouse performance by her. And I loved it. Like, I didn't like the line about the Type 3 phaser, and I didn't like the line when May gave her an explanation of what she did, and she's like, oh, that old trick again. Like, I don't know, like, it's just, I don't like those kind of dumb lines, and I don't know. But, yeah, I like May, what's her real name? May Wise, right? Sorry, I'm getting confused with May and May.
Mary Wiseman.
Mary Wiseman, thank you. Mary Wiseman, like, she's a great actress. I love her. She is outstanding. I like the serious Tilly more than the silly Tilly.
Yeah, me too. I do. I've said it many times.
She was a powerhouse in this episode. It was outstanding. This is my favorite Tilly episode, hands down. She did a great job.
So the first line, the first line with that old trick. That one didn't bother me so much because she had just been pulled out and she's kind of disorientated. Okay, I can see anyone making a ridiculous line there. But the phaser thing, that was like, come on.
Because when she was on the ship, the Glen, and she was scared, action Tilly, no holds bar Tilly came out. And that's who should have been there.
And she was completely different than this Tilly.
Yes.
Or, no, I shouldn't say this Tilly, because what was around those two lines was the Tilly I like.
Yes.
It was just those two lines. And like I said, the first one, all right, she's disorientated. I can see that one happening. The second one was just kind of, ugh. Mm-hmm. And you know what it is? It's not even, like you said, I don't really like the silly Tilly, but it also that it feels forced from the writing perspective, not from the acting perspective. She can act anything.
Yes, absolutely.
She can pull it off, but it feels like the writers are forcing it in there for no reason.
Yeah, like when are they're going to give her an Emmy Award, and she's going to deserve it because she's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's not Mary Wise, right? It's not. She's doing brilliant
Wiseman.
with what she. Sorry, oh my goodness, this is what I mean. Okay, yes, I forgot Jamie Lee Curtis's name. I am bad with names. I'm sorry.
You're getting almost there. You're getting really close.
Mary Wiseman. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. She's outstanding. She's funny. She's hilarious. She's serious. She's an amazing serious actor. I just don't like the writing for the character, and I'm torn with it. And I got to get used to it because this is what they're going to do with the character, and I've got to come to terms with it. This is what they're going to write with it. And so this is part of why I find the episode so frustrating, is because we saw so much of what I love in her, and then we got these other parts that they just feel like they have to throw in because that's kind of how the character's going now. And it's like, I don't think they need to throw those things in.
I agree. I do feel like they did pull back a bit from what they were doing in the last few episodes of season 1. Mm. So if I have to have a little bit of it, I can get past it a lot easier than if I had to get that Tilly again. Mm. So I am glad to see that we did get a bunch of serious Tilly in this episode. I also really enjoyed the whole, why would I trust you? You know, why would I help you? I'm going to find my way out of here. And, the stand up I'm going to do, because then we're back to the, no nonsense Tilly at that point. Mm-hmm. For those lines where she's telling her I'm leaving and I'm finding my way out, and May has to then back down a little bit, and that's what I liked, because May had to back down. I was like, but who else do I talk to?
Yeah,
who else do I go to? You're the only one who can help me.
Mm-hmm. And this is so Star Trek, right? Like it's like this episode is so Star Trek because we've got a completely alien life form that's like a mushroom talking with Tilly. Right? And they're communicating, and Tilly's like mad. She's very upset about what's happened to her, but then still that Starfleet training kicks in, and she's like, how can I help?
Right, exactly. Absolutely. She goes and gets the weapon. She decides she's going to look for this monster that she's told about. She doesn't know who the monster is yet. Did you know that it was going to be Culber? Did you think it was going to be Culber at that point?
I suspected. I was pretty sure. Because again, I know he was coming back. You know how I knew? Because they told me in season 1. See, like, that's not even a surprise then. If you got your fan base so upset that you got to tell them calm down because I'm coming back, you're doing it wrong. I don't know, like, you're doing it wrong. So
I agree. And look, one of the problems with TV in general, it's not just a Star Trek issue. One of the problems I have with TV is they are reacting to fan bases because they have the internet to voice themselves now. Mm. But I also feel like if you only worry about people's negative reactions, you're just going to be constantly changing your shows anyway. Mm. Because people who are happy about shows don't run to the internet to write about it usually. People who are mad run and write a lot. Mm-hmm. So, whatever. I mean, that's just my thing.
Like my prediction on who I thought May was a couple episodes when I joined you guys and I said, I think he's Culber. My prediction on that was based on the fact that I knew he was coming back this year.
Right. So I'm glad you were wrong.
So am I. I'm glad that I was wrong too. I'm glad that it was something different. I'm glad it wasn't that. But I'm just saying that my predictions based on that are now fed just the same way of Jonathan Frakes telling me that we're going to the Air Universe in season 1. Right? Like my predictions are based on these people spoiling the show for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the negatives of having the instant access over the internet.
Yes,
is that we're almost getting too much information at times.
Yeah, like the other shows that I watch. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have to do this. I don't know. But I mean, I like my Star Trek community online. I like my Star Trek friends on Twitter. I like my Star Trek friends on Facebook. But Walking Dead, I don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about what's coming. Game of Thrones, I don't follow anything on Game of Thrones because I don't want those spoilers. Okay, some character died in the second episode of of season 4, and it was spoiled for me before I could see that episode in Game of Thrones. And that's when I'm like, I have to just not follow these accounts. You know, the Walking Dead official page, there's a character that died in the middle of season 4, and their webpage spoiled, oh, rest in peace, this person. And I'm like, for crying out loud, it's their own page spoiling it 5 minutes after the episode is done. Like, so, but I can't do that with Star Trek because of how involved I am. And I just want to watch it as a fan sometimes. I don't want this stuff spoiled. So
yeah, I understand. I definitely understand. You know, we're very overly connected to, and that doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is what it is. So, all right. So you did, I didn't think, you know what? I try not to listen to the internet and all that stuff. I think I do a little bit better job than you do of staying away from all the spoilers and whatnot. So I didn't think it was Culber. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I loved that in this we saw, and this is a very Star Trek theme, that they thought he was a monster and he thought they were the monster.
Yeah,
and that Burnham actually says. Mm-hmm. He's protecting himself, and then someone else, I think it was Tilly said, or maybe it was Burnham also said it to him. You're the monster.
No, it was Tilly. Yep, she says.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, Tilly said that to me. So, and again, that's such a Star Trek message. It's miscommunication, and this is what we need in our lives. This is what we need in real life. Sit down and talk to each other and figure out where the other person is coming from. Okay, that's what we need in real life. This is so relevant to everything going on social media right now. Sit down, talk, and figure out where the other person is coming from. You know, I tweeted a question the other day about gender pronouns, and somebody's like, I said, I don't understand this. And somebody responded, you don't have to understand it. You just have to respect it. It's like, no, I need to understand so that I can prepare myself for the future respect that I need to give people. I need to understand what it is they're asking of me so that I don't make a mistake in the future. Okay, if I sit down and talk to somebody and I want to vote for this person because of this, okay, well, I don't like this other stuff, but I like this. Okay, I can't vote for that person because they completely stand against for what I want to vote, but that doesn't mean I support everything else that they do. You know, sit down and talk and figure out and try and understand where the other person is coming from. Because to you, they're the monster. So sit down and talk and figure out what the problem is. Perfect Star Trek. Perfect.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is. Star Trek is actually hitting very much on current issues, which is exactly what I watch Star Trek for.
Yeah.
This is the reason I watch. And this story with Tilly going after the monster is exactly what's going on today.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it,
you know,
man.
And misinformation, it's not just misinformation that you ask a question and someone goes, you don't have to, you just need to respect. No, it goes farther than that. It goes to the point where people take, and you brought it up the last time you were on, people take one line and they extrapolate a whole conversation out of one line when that's not what happened.
Yes. They take partial information and conclude facts.
Right. And here's the thing. The biggest problem with that is all the information is there. They're purposely ignoring it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened here. All the information was in front of May. All of it. He wasn't attacking you. Mm-hmm. He was covering himself. But you were ignoring that, and all you were remembering was that when your species went after him, they died.
Mm-hmm.
So you took it as an attack.
Yep.
You ignored all the facts and just focused on and I don't want your species to die, don't get me wrong.
No.
But you acted like he was running around purposely going after you.
Yes. And he wasn't, right?
No, he was hiding from you.
You got it, right? And that's the thing. I asked a question on Twitter. I'm not purposely being rude or anything like that. I'm asking a question because I want to get an answer because I need to know. That's the kind of person I am, right? And if somebody's assuming that I'm just being disrespectful, well, no, that's not the case. And I'm not just going to blindly do something because I don't want to make a faux pas later on.
Right, right, exactly. It's not that you were saying you wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You just wanted to know why it was supposed to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because if you don't know why it's done, then you don't know the right situations to use it.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So, but yeah, I completely agree. So, but I don't know. Communication, the internet's a wonderful place, and it's become a problem where people don't, like you said, there's no face-to-face anymore. Mm-hmm. So part of the problem is nobody has to see, I don't have to look you in the face when I'm insulting you. And the other problem is it's very easy to take my words.
You just insult me whenever you want.
I know. But the other problem is it's very easy to misinterpret what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's why I don't hear. That's why I don't like text-based communication, right? Because you need to talk and you need to be able to talk to somebody face-to-face so you understand what it is they're saying. Because there's influences, and when you put stressors on words, and everybody knows this, right? Yet everybody still gets upset when they read something online. You know, I can say a sentence and I can say it 6 different ways and have 6 different meanings for the exact same word structure.
Right.
But it's how you're emphasizing different words that make it mean something completely different. You could mean exactly the opposite of what you're saying when you say something if you stress the words the proper way. You know, but you can't know that unless you hear it. And that's why I don't like text-based communication.
Right. And it's not even just hearing it, because even hearing it, then you have the extra step of you don't see my facial expressions, you don't see my body language. All those things play in, you know, because you can misinterpret something that's said on the radio because you didn't see all the other information. Now, it's harder. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot easier to misinterpret a text. But every step you go away from personal contact, the easier it is to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Look, and some people are just jerks. That's the other truth here. In some scenarios, some people are just jerks, and that's the bottom line. But, you know, there's a lot of miscommunication that makes a lot of people think people are jerks when they're not.
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. This episode is so Star Trek, and this has been a really good season. There's been a lot of really great episodes with a lot of really great stuff. So far for me, there's only been the one misstep of the Klingon episode, right? But I mean, other than that, I think the other 4 episodes have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
This episode's hands down the better of the 2 seasons so far.
Oh, yes.
So, and look, and I know people are going to kill me in a minute for that, but everyone said that about every series to this point. Everyone has said season 1 is always the weakest season.
Which I've also said before is not fair, not in this day and age. Every single television show I watched was better than season 1 of Discovery in their first seasons. I don't know.
No, I agree. But all I'm saying is just because I didn't like season 1 doesn't mean, or I think it's the weakest season, doesn't mean I hate the show.
That's
100%. All I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Historically speaking, Star Trek has always had weak first seasons. Okay, so this was a weak first season. It didn't live up to what I wanted it to live up to. That doesn't mean that I can't love season 2 on.
Right. And that's what people need to know as well on social media. Like, we were talking again about the Klingon episode, and I'm like, this was a complete and total disaster, this episode. And, you know, generally, I think I'm generally a generally positive Star Trek person. And somebody's like, well, I'm just going to assume that your Twitter account was taken over by a troll bot. And I'm like, why? If I said the exact same comment about Threshold or Move Along Home or Shades of Grey, nobody would bat an eye. Why is it that right now, at this point in social media, if somebody has something negative to say about something about Discovery, they're automatically labeled a troll or a hater? Okay? Like, I love Star Trek The Next Generation. I think the episode, in theory, completely ruins Data's character. And the person who wrote that does not understand Data in the slightest. That's my opinion. Does that make me hate Star Trek The Next Generation because I think that episode is absolutely terrible and detrimental to the character of Data? No.
Well, I agree with you. I think one of the problems is this way of storytelling. I think I didn't really want to go down this path, but I think people take a love it or leave it kind of attitude to this type of storytelling. And I don't think that's fair, because I think this kind of storytelling can still have bad stories and still move on, and the next part of the story be great and fix all the problems.
But see, that's okay. So that's the frustrating thing that I have with other televisions. There's no other shows that I watch where I'm watching it and I've got like one episode in the season where I'm just like, that's a terrible episode. Game of Thrones. I've never watched a season of Game of Thrones and been like, that was a terrible episode. You know, True Detective. I've never been like, that's a terrible episode of that show. Mindhunter. You know, season 1 of Mindhunter. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But
I don't know. I think you can. I don't know. I got to think about that, because I think there have been episodes of Game of Thrones where I walked away afterwards and were like,
I haven't. I don't know. I haven't.
But I still love Game of Thrones.
Good.
Like, I can't wait to watch the new episode. So it's not like because I didn't think that was the greatest episode. And look, I also think that a lot of us hold Star Trek to a bit of a higher standard too, where if this was Game of Thrones, we may have forgiven some of the things that have happened in places. The problem, I think, with this particular series is there's been a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if it's 1 or 2, you go, okay. But when you get to 10 or 11, you're like, oh, you're kind of pushing it.
So we're doing a lot of broad series discussions now. We're kind of going off on tangents for broad series discussion. We should probably pull it back to this episode. What do you think?
That happens a lot with you. Okay, so going back to what we were talking about with Tilly, right?
It's my fault.
Here's the thing. I love the fact that Stamets would not believe she was dead. Now, I directly correlate this with him losing Culber in the first place. Let's forget the fact that Culber comes back later. I directly relate the fact that he will not admit she's dead because he cannot lose another person that close to him.
Okay.
What do you think? Any thoughts on that?
No, I think it's more just the science aspect of it, that he's like, he knows the mushrooms and he knows how they work. And so he realizes that what the mushrooms can do. So he's like, look, you know, in that last episode, when the mushrooms sprayed them, I'm like, okay, something's going to happen. Like, that is not just an accident. Something's going to come from that. And so, you know, obviously it's some kind of a trick to keep them distracted. And I think he realizes that because he knows his mushrooms so well. He knows his spores.
No, I think he does that too, but I think he can't handle another loss. I mean, we started the season with him leaving the ship because he couldn't handle Culber's loss in the first place. And I think this plays into it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I think it's more to do with his knowledge of the shrooms. Not that I'm trying to belittle the relationship he has with Tilly. I believe that Tilly's very important to him. But I would place it more on his knowledge of the mushrooms, knowing that she's not dead, rather than I don't want to lose another person for him fighting. It might be a fine line, but that's what I. That's
I
how
get what
I
you're
see
saying.
It. Yeah,
I get what you're saying. So okay, now I love the fact that he scans it for human mitochondrial DNA. He says 3 things: lipids and something else. I think whatever.
bacon sandwiches.
Yeah, right. Lipids and bacon sandwiches.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't find those, he knows she's alive somewhere. Right.
Right.
That was his way of proving it. Okay. I love that. It's more kind of technobabble-ish type stuff, but it would hold true, right? Like if she was transported somewhere, then none of that would actually sit in that pod anymore.
Well, and the entire thing about the mycelium network has been about transporting the ship from one location to another.
Yeah, but it doesn't break it down and then reestablish it. We saw that he actually flies through the network at one point, but
right. But you can extrapolate that it could do different things, right? The transporter can do different things. You can use the transporter to filter out whatever you picked up on the planet. You can use it to turn Dr. Pulaski halfway young again, right? But that's not what it's designed for, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I could buy that. That's a good one. But anyway, my point being is that was great right up until they used it to bring Culber back.
Okay.
They literally had 40 minutes earlier said there is no human DNA whatsoever.
Right.
What's missing in Culber? Oh, there's no
DNA.
human DNA.
Yes.
Let's put him in the cocoon. We know there is no human DNA.
That's
so
right.
I fixed this in my head with they just made a faux pas, and what they meant was there was no prime universe matter in Culber, and that's how I fixed that for me.
Sure. And I don't know. That's just it doesn't work for me, but that's okay. If that's your headcanon, that's fine. In my headcanon, this is what we have. We have a Klingon that's walking around looking like a human because thank you, Christopher Pike, for saying, even if I were to buy that or whatever it was that he said. I
didn't want to go into that yet, but
thank you. Okay. Because he's a Klingon. He's not a human. He's a Klingon.
No, but even worse, forget the fact that he's a Klingon. He committed murder.
What's he doing here walking around?
Right.
Thank you.
That's the best part of that is, look, even if he was a Klingon, look, he could have defected, and maybe they do trust him now. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with the murderer walk around a week later.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, okay, we're going to finally get because he's on the bridge now, yes, we're going to get some type of thing now. I don't even know how they're going to resolve that now that he's not even dead. However, my original point was we've got a Klingon walking around looking like a human, and now we got a mushroom walking around looking like a human. Okay, he's just a Portobello in disguise. So...
So, okay, right, but he's not even a mushroom. He's not even a real mushroom. He's a firefly.
He's a firefly.
But, so anyway, Okay, whatever. I can't anymore. But yeah, so that's what that happened. And but I did love the first part, and I actually do like the last part. I just don't like the fact that they happen together.
Yeah, I was when they tried to bring him through and his arm disappeared, I literally sat up in my chair and thought, are they going to be brave enough to take this where I think they're going to take it and have them separated? Are they going to be that brave? No.
I did too, and I thought, Brandon. So I honestly, I was thinking about you. You can even ask my wife, and I said, "Oh man, Brandon's not gonna be happy." And then the arm wasn't there, and I was like, "Oh, Brandon's gonna be happy." And then like 4 seconds later, I'm like, "Never mind."
Anyways, yeah, and okay, so yes, Nicholas Meyer didn't want Spock back, so he didn't work on Star Trek 3. And when Star Trek 4 came around, he's like, "Well, Spock's already back, so I might as well work on it." So, and that's literally what he said. So I don't know. Like, if I like Culber, okay, I do. It's not that I don't like Culber. He's great. Okay, I love him. I didn't want him to die, but once they made that choice, I just didn't want them to bring him back because television's different now.
Not only is it different, I don't think the payoff was big enough.
No, I don't either. I don't.
If the fact that he went into the network and then came out of the network had more of a consequence overall to the show,
which we have 7 more episodes to figure this out.
Maybe it does.
Okay.
But so maybe it does, and then I'll be wrong, and I'll be happy to be wrong on this. I just think it was like, we got to see Stamets upset, and now he's not upset. Like, that's kind of where overall that sits for me. So,
here's the thing that I'm thinking. I'm thinking of that Pulp Fiction scene when they're sitting there at the breakfast diner at the end of the movie, right? And they're talking about eating bacon. And Sam Jackson's like, I don't eat pork. I don't eat a filthy animal. And he's like, what about Wilbur? Would you eat Wilbur? And he's like, that better be some charming pig if he's going to be eating it, right? Like, that better got personality. 10 times more charming. Like, for them to go through an entire accusation of bury the gays, they're like, there had better be some massive payoff. And we did not. I don't think we got that in this episode, so there had better be some massive payoff bringing Culber back at the end of the season.
I think part of it is going to be that it closes the network, honestly. So, and if that's the payoff, then I guess that's the payoff.
Right. Last week somebody was saying that, what May was saying that it's hurting the network, and so that's why they're not going to do it anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but they talked about that in season 1 already. This is not new information. At the end of season 1, we determined that Mirror Stamets was doing stuff to ruin the network, and the jump was a part of that. Like, this is not new information.
Yes, but he was doing it in a way that caused that. I don't think it was the same. My interpretation was what we were what Prime and Mira was doing was different.
Yeah. So
if he avoided what Mira did, then it would be okay. And now he found out that it doesn't matter. And I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
We still don't know. They still didn't say that because May is now saying that it was the monster that was wrecking the network or whatever. And now that he's out.
Yeah, but she said she said it started with their incursions. And Culber wasn't dead in the first incursions. So this is going to definitely play out farther. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I'm perfectly okay with that. I have no problem with that. I know we're jumping all over the place, but I did love the scene when Stamets does find Culber and he's like, "You're not real." I love that scene. And he's like, "No, you took me to the Met," and all those lines were great.
It was very parallel to what happened in season 1.
Yes.
It was like, as George Lucas would say, it rhymes.
Exactly. So, but I did enjoy that scene. I liked the way he got him to come out.
Because they were in their quarters. That was
in this scene.
Yeah, and in season 1, yes, they were in their quarters, and in this scene, they were in their quarters again. Right? So...
Yeah, I don't know. The scene felt right, even though I kind of saw it going to a point where it didn't feel right. But I like that scene. I like the way he got him to come out, and yeah, I guess that's all I can say about really the Tilly. Because then, I mean, what else is there to talk about the Tilly thing?
I think that's about it. I mean, I'm kind of hoping. I don't really like the May character. So I'm hoping now that this link is severed, I'm kind of hoping we don't see the May character anymore.
We're seeing her again.
Are we?
Yeah, I mean, she said, if it's meant to be, we'll see you again. So, I mean, it might not be long spurts of it, but we're definitely seeing her again.
I hope not. I don't know.
See, and this is the problem. That's the problem with death not mattering.
Yeah.
Because now I just assume we're seeing May again because the link is severed, but we'll find a way.
Yeah, but she's not dead, though.
Yeah, but if the link is severed, the link should be severed.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that I don't believe death exists.
Well, if they've run out of spores, they should have run out of spores. Yet, they had a spare jar.
Right, so the link is gonna. They'll figure it out.
They had a spare jar at the end of season 1 that got them out. So whatever.
I didn't really dislike the May character, so it doesn't bother me that she's coming back. Except whatever. I'm indifferent. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got to talk about Section 31.
Well, we can get there.
Okay.
So what about Section 31?
Okay. So again, I got to come to terms with what they're doing with Section 31, and it's clearly obvious that what they're doing is they're setting up the storyline of how Section 31 is going to go into the darkness. Just the problem with that is it doesn't line up with what we saw in Enterprise, because in Enterprise they were a little bit more of a shadow organization, right? So
right.
So
here's my only problem with it. Okay. So, I'm sorry, let me just cut you off for a second, because I can do this probably quicker than you can. So, I can buy the headcanon other people have used, where Section 31 was a shadow organization. It was much more hush-hush during times of not war. And then when war came around, certain members of 31 became more visible. I can buy that. I can understand them. And then, at some point, we have to get back to the DS9 one, where they don't exist at all in Starfleet, and they're somehow pushed out. Okay. I'm fine with that. My problem is, even if all of that is true, why does everyone keep throwing the badge around all over the place?
And if I just don't understand why somebody like Burnham would know who Section 31 is. Why does Burnham know who they are? Right? When she whips out, when Georgiou shows the badge to Pike, it's Burnham who says, Section 31?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you can throw whatever headcanon you want. Okay, so did she know who Section 31 was when she walked past them in episode 3 of season 1? Or did she, she could have learned about them at any time. Yeah, you're right. And you can throw whatever headcanon you want at it, right? But there's no reason that Burnham should know who Section 31 is on sight.
No, and I don't like I know that they were trying to give a plausible reason for Section 31 being visible, being on the Discovery, but I don't think it would be there.
Mm-hmm. In season 1, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. Whatever. Wait till the novel comes out. Wait till David Mack or whoever writes the novel and tells us why Section 31 was on the ship in season 1, right? But I don't know. They could boil it down to something simple as, well, because of the spore drive. But I don't know. But that's not what they were protecting. They weren't outside engineering.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay, so I've come to grips with the fact that Section 31 is just a visible organization at this point.
Right. Otherwise, we're going to drive ourselves crazy.
Right. I just had to do that. And look, I told you, I messaged you the moment we found out about Section 31 having its own show that I'm looking forward to it.
And I am too. Okay. So again, I'm not a hater.
I want them to very quickly in that show get to the point where it gets to be a shadow organization, though. Because I don't want just a Starfleet intelligence show. I want a shadow organization show.
See, and I don't think that's what we're going to get. I think that we're speculating. Either. I think that what we're going to get is X-season arc showing them go into the darkness. And at the end of the show, they'll be in the darkness. That's where I think
I want them to do that somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the end.
You're probably right. And I'm probably wrong, and I probably still enjoy it because I do like that kind of story. And if we do end up at the end where they go into the darkness and they get kicked out of Starfleet, I'm okay with it. But I when I think about a Section 31 show, I wanted it from the perspective of after that point. That's just what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'll be open-minded to it because, look, it's going to have Georgiou, and it'll probably end up having Tyler.
And this guy Leland, yeah, those are the.
And Leland
this is the show. This is the backdoor pilot. These, right? This is it right here.
And I like them. I like all three of them.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Leland yet, but I like what I saw. Mm-hmm. His character, the way he treated Pike, is exactly what I expect of someone who's about to get themselves kicked out of Starfleet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, Leland here, he's trying to work with. I'm going to guess that Leland hasn't been in command for very long. And so he's trying to work that fine line, and he's trying to figure out what it is he can do. And right now, he's a little bit pushing on the wrong side of what it is. So this is why I think that Section 31 is going to be, the entire series is going to be about them becoming the shadow organization, is because, even when Cornwell was talking to them right there, she's like, oh, old friends that aren't shaking hands and whatnot, because they just gone through something. Like, basically, Leland was going to let them die. until Ash stepped in.
Yes.
Right? So he's pushing on that back end of what shouldn't be done for a special Starfleet secret ops.
And I think if this is going to stay true to form, he has to continue to do that.
Yes. He has to continue to do
he never
wrong.
has to learn his lesson.
Right. And
maybe he does with Pike because they're friends, but only because they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
Not with any other captain.
Right.
Speaking of Section 31, though, what do you think of Pike flat out asking Burnham about Georgiou and her telling him, "Let me tell you later," and his response of being, "Don't make me chase an answer"?
Okay, so I'm torn on the scene because of two things. So I loved the scene, but I'll tell you why I hated it in a second. Okay, so I loved the scene and I love Pike. Pike is quickly becoming my favorite captain in Star Trek. That is such a wonderful captain decision where he's like, look, I need to know what you know, and I trust my officers to tell me what they know. Okay, so that goes back to the scene. Again, directing, I loved it. When Georgiou comes out and everybody lowers their phasers except Burnham, great scene. But this is also when Pike starts to realize that something is wonky here. Okay? And so for him to say, look, I like my officers to be straight up with me, so I want you to tell me what's going on because I sense something wrong in Georgiou. And and Burnham comes back to him and says, look, I'll tell you, just not right now. And Pike says, good. Okay, I'm not going to just make sure I don't have to come after you. What a wonderful, wonderful captain leadership moment. I trust you. You've just told me that you'll come to me. Trust you. Wonderful. I loved that scene so much. And this is why I love Pike so much. They have written him so well.
Okay, and why do you hate it?
Why doesn't he know who Georgiou is? He knows about Lorca. He knows he's from the mirror universe.
I knew that's where you're going.
Same reason that he doesn't. Oh, I don't really understand what the spore drive is and what the tardigrade is.
Purpose. In all fairness, I think he knows without knowing, but he wants Burnham to tell him. I do. I think look. I don't think it's in the paperwork that she's from the mirror universe. I don't. Now we know Leland knows.
Yep.
But I don't think it's in the paperwork, and I think he has hints that it is, but he's shown to be a different type of Starfleet captain. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's going to jump to that conclusion on his own, even though I think in his head he knows it already. And that's why he's telling her, don't make me chase you.
I just don't understand why Starfleet, I understand Starfleet, we don't talk about this ever again, and they said that in season 1, we're going to bury these records, but he already knows that Lorca's from the mirror universe.
No, I understand that, but I don't think that... I don't know. I'm just not that hung up on that.
You see, I am, but again, I loved that scene. I love what they're doing with this character. He is a great captain. I wish I was a leader like this man.
I agree. And the fact that he's kind of lax at times, I like, because when he's... I want to say this right. He's very lax at times, but then you have Tyler... go to say something. He says, you only spoke when you're addressed on my bridge. Mm-hmm. He knows when to push and when not to push.
See, I interpreted his reaction to Ash Tyler because he was upset with the situation that Ash Tyler was able to communicate with his other ship without going through the captain. So this person's been put on his bridge that Pike doesn't really have control over. And I think he's upset about that. And that's why he was cracking down on Tyler. Right?
I agree.
It's like a this is my bridge.
No,
right?
I agree. But look, if I teach, right? I'm an electrician by trade, but I
because
teach my
you
apprentices. Can't. Right, exactly. I'm terrible at it.
Those who can't teach.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad Amy's
You know
not
the
here.
two hosts of this show are teachers, right? I just want to point out.
Sorry.
You've definitely named this podcast. I just don't know if it's going to be those who can't teach or if it's going to be the I don't know. Someone is Portobello in disguise. So anyway, point being here, I teach. Now, when I first started teaching, I was still pretty young in my industry. I was only out of my apprenticeship for like 3 years. And I had more really in common with the apprentices than I did with older journeymen. That's just a fact. They had 20 years of experience on me that I didn't have. So I was definitely closer to the apprentices. And being friends with somebody is very hard. But when you're trying to teach them, you know what I mean? Because you need that respect factor, right? Mm-hmm. So now as a captain, he's figured out how to have that. And I've been doing this for 4 years. I now have a way of being friendly with them and being lax and still being able to put the hammer down when I have to. Mm-hmm. When I first started, that was very hard. Mm-hmm. It was very hard because they don't really take you seriously when you try and come down on them. Mm-hmm. But this scene shows he can do both.
Yeah.
Now, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with why he did what he did. But the fact that he can switch it that quickly and not just continue to be the lax captain we've seen. And I love the fact that he's a lax captain. I really do. But I love the fact that we have a scene where he puts his foot down.
Yeah.
Because he's not just a lax captain.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that 100%. Now, I have a question for you. I hate my Crave TV app on my Apple TV because for some reason it won't rewind. I don't know why. I try. It just will not rewind. Did Tyler tap his communicator? Was his badge his communicator? Every time I wanted to rewind, I couldn't.
Okay, so I think so, yes. Because he says something, he goes, what kind of communicator is that?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I want to rewind, but my stupid app won't let me.
Can you fast forward?
No.
So you can just watch?
Yes, if I could hit pause and that's it. I don't know, like I could hit pause
that's brutal.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. It could do it on Netflix. It just can't on Crave for some reason. I don't know why.
That is brutal.
Yeah. So everything is happening so fast that I didn't catch if that's what he did. But when Pike says, "What kind of communicator is that?" I'm like, oh, "Did he just tap his chest? Rewind! Damn it!"
So I never did rewind to check that, but I'm pretty sure yes, he tapped the badge like we do in TNG.
Oh, I love it.
So, which is awesome because look, let's be realistic. If there is a Section 31 and they are part of Starfleet, they should have that tech decades before everyone else. Mm-hmm. It's not breaking. Because I've actually seen someone say, well, that broke continuity. Someone texted me that right after the episode, that this ruined continuity because he had a badge he could talk through. No. They didn't give it to the rest of Starfleet yet.
Pike didn't know what it was.
Correct.
They have a cloaking
Only Section
ship.
31 has it.
They have a ship that can cloak itself as an asteroid.
Which is phenomenal. By the way, I love that ship.
Okay.
I love that ship.
I think that's really cool. And again, I a couple episodes ago when we saw the ship the first time and it was coming out of the sun, I saw some kind of weird shimmering on the ship, but I didn't quite know what it was. And in this, we saw it must have been like, I don't know, coming out a cloak or whatever they want to call it. Holographic ship, I don't know, whatever. Well, that's probably actually more accurate to be a holographic ship. But no, I think that's really cool.
I completely agree. It was phenomenal. It was that ship is awesome. Mm-hmm. Even when it's just flying around and when it comes out of the asteroid and the top the nacelles actually kind of open up. Oh, it was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. But like Voyager.
Yes, exactly.
Let me see stuff like that. I don't know. So like I'm looking forward to. So as you could see, based on this discussion, like I loved this episode so much, but there was some stuff that infuriated me with it. Now, that didn't take away from my enjoyment because I still give this an A+ rating. Like this was a great episode. I don't have to like something that they do. They can make a choice. I don't like that they killed Culber. Okay? But they did it. Okay? Like there's lots that they do in television shows that I don't like as a viewer, but I think that's good storytelling sometimes. Okay? Like I don't like that they brought back Culber, but I'm sure Culber's going to be fine. I'm sure I'm going to love Culber just as much as I did next week when I see him. I'm sure I'm going to love him just as much as I did in season 1.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna be happy to have him back, even though I'm not happy about how he came back. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
And I don't think that's a contradiction.
So, no, if he's dead, he should be dead. But now that he's back and I have to come to grips with it, I'm going to enjoy. I enjoyed the actor. I enjoyed the character. I'm going to continue to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to be miffed about the fact that he died and came back. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Now, just before we end real quick, I did want to talk. What'd you think about that jump, that half jump into the network?
Oh, it was really cool. I don't think that's exactly how it would look, but I'm like, it was a pretty cool special effect. It was really neat to see it kind of halfway in there. I didn't like how it kind of looked like water.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, did you? Okay, but I really
love that it looked like water lapping up against it. I don't know. I just really loved like it was like an ocean almost.
Yeah, but it was really neat. It was really cool.
So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that, like, it did the spin kind of slower than normal.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just fell. Boom.
Yeah.
And when it came out, it was even cooler.
Yeah.
I loved it. I really did.
And I loved how when it was spinning, I don't think I noticed that the two things spun in opposite ways before. I don't think I noticed that before. But I liked how it was like you could see coming out the parts that had been eaten. Right.
Yes. It looked awesome, and I wonder how long that's going to last before we get that fixed.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. We might see them fixing it next year. It depends on how much time has passed, right? So,
I do hope that we get at least an episode where it's still messed up.
Right, like we saw in in season 1 of Enterprise. Like it took them 4 episodes to get to Ryza. When they had their repair from the Romulan mines, it took them a couple episodes to fix that. I'd like to see that. That'd be really cool.
So I just hope we get at least one episode of this thing being a little banged up because it was so shiny and new, even though it was kind of rusty-ish, like the color, But I kind of like that it was eaten away a bit, and that May couldn't tell them to stop. I was glad they didn't go with that. She could just tell them to stop and they stopped thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I loved the effects. I loved the water. It looked like water. I liked when it came out. The way it came out, it kind of came back to level, and then everything was spinning. Like you said, you could actually tell which part was in which universe once it came back out.
Yeah, you got it.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So
I got one final thought. Okay, so I wanted to talk about what I think is the greatest line so far in the entire series, right? Just because of this one line and how much you can interpret from this one line. So again, we're still about, 8 years before TOS now? Because I think we were 10 and now some time has passed. So we're 7 or 8 years before the original Star Trek, right?
Okay.
When Pike says to Leland, I thought you were up to your ass in alligators on Cestus 3. Okay, did you catch that line?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what that's referring to?
No.
The Gorn on Arena. Cestus 3 is the planet of the Gorn. Okay? Now, so this is why this line is so brilliant. So he's up to his ass in alligators. So the baby Gorn would look like alligators. This is setting up the fact that the Federation was on this planet and shouldn't have been because it was a Gorn planet already. It just that one little line sets up Arena. I loved it. It was so brilliant. It was so amazing.
So I didn't. I've said this before. I'm not as up to date on my TOS as I should be. Unfortunately, my wife just doesn't like TOS, so I tend to watch the other shows so that she doesn't just fall asleep.
Sure.
Bored. But now that you say it, I do know the episodes.
Yep.
I've seen them. You know what I mean? So now that you've jogged my memory, that is phenomenal. I didn't even catch that, but it adds to this episode even more.
Fan service
one line came out.
Done right.
Right, because I didn't catch that. My wife wouldn't have caught that. My son didn't catch that. My son's never even seen TOS.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ruin the episode. But someone like you who knew it instantly, it adds to the episode.
Yeah. But the fact that it's up to your ass at alligators, that's baby Gorn. They're there. They shouldn't be there. Oh, I love it. It's so good. Such just an off-the-cuff line. Brilliant. Thank you, Kirsten Beyer.
Well, I got to be honest. They are doing such a great job at fan service in this series. At least this season, they're doing such a good job that they're plugging in a ton of it, and none of it feels like shoehorned. None of it feels like you need to know what they're talking about. If you miss it, you miss it. It's not the worst thing in the world. They're doing such a good job of fan service because it's not again.
Yeah, it's not duress.
Correct.
I would have been upset if it was Coal House of Duress all of a sudden or something like that.
So look, my final thoughts is yes, we spent a lot. I won't say we. I'll just put it on me. But I spent a lot of time complaining about a couple of things that happened in this episode. But really, the episode was A+. It's a phenomenal episode. The way it moves the story forward. Look, things happen I don't like, and that's okay. Like you said, it's okay that things happen that I don't like. The writing still makes sense. It does make sense that I said I don't want to see him come out of the network, but the writing still makes sense that he did. Do I want a bigger payoff on it? Fine. That may happen. We still have episodes to go. That payoff, because of the way they do these storylines, might happen in the middle of season 3, for all I know.
But For all those fans that are saying, well, just wait. I'm sorry, but we're doing a podcast here. We got to talk about it.
No, and I've said that a million times.
We're doing a podcast.
I talk every week. I talk every week for an hour. I can admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. I will admit to everyone right now. What? Which is daily. It's all the time. I am constantly wrong. Ask my wife. Or Brandon, apparently, because he's my wife on the network. But I have no problem admitting I was wrong. I was wrong. They were bringing him back. I told you I didn't think they were bringing him back. I was wrong. And they brought him back. And now, you know what? I'm going to suck it up and be okay with it. I am.
Well, yeah, it's not that I don't think you have to suck it up to be okay with it. Okay? Like, they've brought him back. That's a decision we got to move forward with. Okay? I don't like that they brought him back because I wanted him to stay dead, right? But I can still like the character, right? I can still like what they do with him in later episodes. Okay? Yesterday's Enterprise is a great episode of Next Generation, even though they killed Yar. You know, like, yes. That's a special episode. That's special. Okay, that's something.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Look, what I'm really trying to say is, I didn't want him back. He's back, but I'm not. That's not going to ruin this show for me. Mm-hmm. It's not a deal breaker. It's not like that's it. I'm done. I'm never watching again.
Right.
And it just is what it is. And they didn't write it in a way that it doesn't make sense. It makes sense. Yes. I just don't like that. I didn't want them to do it. It's not even like that. I don't like it. I didn't want them to do it.
It goes back to my thing about Halloween and Halloween 8. Okay, they intended number 7 to be the end. I love Halloween 8, and they needed to rewrite it. They needed to retcon that ending from Halloween 7. They had to, and they did.
Right,
and they did brilliantly. Right. So I don't know. Like, it's fine that they wrote this, right? But yeah. Anyways,
it's been fun talking about Saints of Imperfection today, but that isn't the only thing we've been discussing on the network. So here's a look at some of the other things you may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM.
Previously on Trek.fm, Warp 5.
Well, and I feel like a side quest could be finding more spheres and gathering intelligence from each one. And each one has like a different way you have to get into them and a different thing you have to collect.
Right, or they're cloaked differently, or
each one is individual.
Earl Grey.
Because, like, the DNA transformation, where's the DNA coming from that's being transformed? You know,
it's like a replicator.
Yeah, and I think that, again, yeah, but I mean, again, the explanation that it's an advanced Genesis device kind of makes me buy it more.
Okay, yeah.
But it just felt a little weird, the DNA thing. It looks like can somebody just throw some leaves on the bridge, you know? But... You know, I think it's a really cool concept. The snakes in the
torpedo.
Was it the torpedo? At that moment, I thought this is the Halloween 3 of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
To the journey.
That's a really good point, Suzanne. We need to clarify, because when we're talking about Chakotay and Seven, some of the best romantic scenes are not actually with Chakotay; they're with hologram Chakotay.
Yes, I would like to meet hologram Chakotay. He seems nice.
You want to date with holographic Chakotay, okay?
If I had a holodeck, I'd be programming that in right now.
The Edge, a Star Trek Discovery podcast.
Saru finally realizes at some point he's seeing its language in ultraviolet light. Basically Morse code. I don't know why they don't say that wording.
Oh, you thought Morse code? Because I was thinking binary.
That makes sense too, but isn't binary kind of a version of Morse code? Because Morse code is a type of binary language. Because all it is beeps and not beeps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
So check out all these shows and join in the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your Portobellos. If you're an Apple user, please be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they're published. Please leave a star rating and a written review, and please let Crave know that you can't rewind. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, in most third-party apps, on the Section 31 ship, and you can stream and download the MP3 from our website, or grab the RSS link as well.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many ways for you to do that. The best place to join the larger conversation is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, B-A-B-E-L, into the search field on Facebook, and it should come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select The Edge. That will come right to us. You can also find us on the network on Twitter at TrekFM. And on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. So, Brandon, where can people find you when you're not trying to find your way through the Mycelial network to find your buddy?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Brandon-Mutala. You can find me here on the network with Warp 5 with you and Brandy, where we talk about Enterprise. You can find me every once in a while with Melodic Treks here on the network. I've got an episode in the can. I just got to finish getting it edited for you guys, but it's a good one. You can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network with my friends Chris and Tom. Once a month, we talk about Hitchcock films. And you can find me on UFP Earth with my friend Zach Moore, where we cover films in a franchise, talking about reboots and bringing people back from the dead, retroactive continuity. Just any horror sequel does that all the time. So you'd think I'd be okay with it, but I guess not. Patrick, where can people find you when you're not laying naked in engineering?
Oh, man. Look, don't come looking for me because that happens a lot. It happens all the time. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5. It's one word, no spaces. 5 is a digit. And you can find me hanging around the Babel Conference. I also pop up on Warp 5 every other week with you and Brandy. And if you want to hang out, you can find me on March 9th and 10th. I'll be at Big Apple Comic Con. So, come say hello and we can chat some Star Trek.
What are you going to be doing there?
Oh, I'm just going as a, someone who's going to check out the con. Unfortunately, I got involved a little too late, so I didn't get to set up a panel spot. But
okay.
I will be talking to, I'll tell you who's there. Shatner's there, Spiner's there, and I'm supposed to be talking to one of the guys. I'm blowing this now. I can't remember his name, but he wrote a few of the episodes for TOS and TNG.
Oh, nice. Nemechek's going to be there too, hey?
And I'm meeting Nemechek, yes. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM. That's patreon.com/TrekFM to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and more. Available through our special patrons website, Patron Zone. It requires a great deal of money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month. We really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM.
At this time, we'd like to thank the wonderful associate producers of The Edge. Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Maylett, Chris Tremuzio, Brian Maloche. Thank you very much for supporting Trek FM and The Edge.
Thank you for listening, and join us next time to see what's happening on the edge of Federation space.